Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So Titleist for 2025 has just released its updated versions of the T-Series irons. This is the T100, 150, 250, which is new, and the 350. And in this video, I'm gonna focus specifically on the two irons that I think are gonna be the most popular with golfers just like you. Now, on the PGA Tour, the LPGA, the DP World Tour, this is most likely going to be the most popular T-Series iron out there. This is the updated Titleist T100, and it is designed for the best ball strikers in the world. It is the ultimate expression in the T-Series of control and feel. Then on the other side, you've got this iron right here. This is the Titleist T350. This is the largest, most stable, most distance-enhancing iron in the T-Series. This is going to be a real game improvement club, possibly even drifting into the max game improvement category as well. But I think for the vast majority of golfers out there who are watching this video, the Titleist T150 and the Titleist T250 are going to be the most intriguing clubs out there. And there are a lot of players who might be looking at both of these clubs and deciding which one belongs in their bag, or maybe both of them belong in their bag. In this video, I'm going to break down everything you need to know about the 150 and the 250 and help you decide which one of these golf clubs might be best for you. And that is as good as I can hit a golf ball right there. Now, first and foremost, it's really important to understand that the Titleist T150 and the Titleist T250 are completely different constructions. They are designed to emphasize different things in the game of golf. The first one, the Titleist T150, this is going to be a much more control and feel-oriented golf club. The T150 is really designed to be a slightly faster, slightly more forgiving version of the Titleist T100, that better player iron. Remember, in Titleist speak, the lower the number in the T-Series, the smaller the blade length, the thinner the top line, the thinner the sole, the less offset you're going to get, the more it's really designed for better players and more control. When you get into higher numbers, 250, 350, now you're going to be talking about clubs that are emphasizing more stability, that are going to innately have more distance, more power, more ball speed generation. So Titleist T150 is going to be a control-oriented club. From a construction standpoint, you're talking about one solid piece of steel that's going to have a cap that's going to be placed right back in here. So this part that says Titleist is actually a separate piece of metal from the rest of the body itself, all of which of course is being forged. Now inside this cap area here are two very large pieces of tungsten, one in the heel and one in the toe. And by putting that tungsten in these positions here, it helps to lower the center of gravity as well as increase the moment of inertia, the MOI, without making the club any bigger. So what you're going to get by dropping that center of gravity location is higher flying shots, especially in the long irons, than you would get otherwise. You're also going to get more perimeter weighting, and that's going to help to boost up stability without making the blade length of the club any bigger. Again, for more accomplished golfers who really are just looking for a touch more ball speed, a little bit more help, they don't want to go into a really great big club. They want to look at something that looks just like the better player's iron that they've probably been playing for a long time. Titleist T150 does that. When you set a T150 down behind the golf ball, you set a Titleist T100 down next to the golf ball, they look darn near identical. As you can see here, it takes a really discerning eye to figure out which one of these golf clubs is a T100 and which is a T150, and that is by design. But if we transition out of T150 and go into Titleist T250, you're talking about a completely different construction. You now have a hollow body iron, which is probably categorized as a better player's distance iron. The face, which is forged right here, actually continues down underneath the leading edge and goes into the sole. So it's sort of shaped like an L. And the advantage to that, according to Titleist, is that it helps to pull the ideal hitting area, the sweet spot, down further. That means that you're going to get more activation low in the face, so thin struck shots are going to get a little bit better performance than they would otherwise. Now, once again, you're going to have two large slugs of tungsten, one in the toe and one in the heel, so it's going to help to drop the center of gravity location to lower the CG, as well as increase the MOI. So just like in the T150, you're going to get more stability without making this blade length much bigger. You're also going to get that lower center of gravity, which helps to encourage a higher launch angle. However, because this is a hollow body construction, you're going to get a lot more ball speed out of the T250 than you would with the T150. The T250 also has stronger lofts than the T150, so that's something to keep into consideration as well. Hollow body construction plus stronger lofts means the T250 should definitely give you more distance. Now, something that's pretty interesting that Titleist has done throughout the T-Series irons is that they have what's called variable grooves or progressive grooves. Starting at the 7-iron all the way up through whatever wedges that you choose to have in your set within the T-Series irons, Titleist has made the grooves physically deeper than they are through in the rest of the golf clubs. And what that does is really tries to promote more consistent spin, especially when you get into the rough and when you get into slightly wetter conditions. So it's something that's kind of interesting, and I'll be really looking forward to hearing a lot of feedback from regular players if they happen to notice more consistency and better performance when it comes to spin and green holding power on their approach shots and with the scoring clubs within the new Titleist T-Series irons. It was something that Titleist really emphasized guys. So how do you decide which one of these irons, the Titleist T150 or the Titleist T50, might be best for you? You need to think about what are your #1 priorities. What are the most important things that your new set of irons is going to deliver to you when you go and bring them home? If you are a much more control-oriented player, if having the ability to carve shots, control spin, to be able to work the ball from left to right, right to left, if that's really critical for you, even more than getting an extra 3 or 4 or 5 yards through the bag, then I would think the Titleist T150 is going to probably be something you would be a little bit happier with. If, however, forgiveness and distance are going to be your #1 priorities, if you want to make sure that you've got an iron in your hands that's going to cover up and compensate for your mishits, if you want something that's going to give you some extra distance and extra height, then the Titleist T250 is probably going to be the one for you. There is, of course, the option of blending these two clubs together and creating a blended set. Working with a good custom fitter, you should be able to put Titleist T250s in at the top of your bag and then transition into T150s when you get into your scoring clubs. A good custom fitter can bend and either strengthen or weaken the lofts in either of these clubs to make that transition from the hollow body better player distance iron, the T250, into the scoring clubs here in the T150 relatively easily. But it's going to take some work from a custom fitter, and you're going to need to definitely do some launch monitor due diligence to be able to make this happen. That said, from a looks perspective, looking down at the golf ball, both of these golf clubs look very, very similar. I think Titleist does a fantastic job of making its better player distance irons, the Titleist T250, look like its better player irons, the Titleist T150 or even the T100. If you set these golf clubs down behind a golf ball next to each other, they look pretty much seamless. I mean, I gotta tell you, it's really impressive how thin that top line on the T250 looks. It really creates a homogeneous set. And when you look at the backs of these golf clubs here, are they identical? Of course not. No, they're not absolutely identical. But this would create a pretty seamless transition set. If you're looking to create a blended set, they look very, very similar. When I had an opportunity to hit both of these irons, I was seriously impressed. With the Titleist T250, the ball really jumps. I got a tremendous feeling of distance and height. It felt like the ball really got up in the air tremendously easily. That is smoked. Beautiful flight, high. Wow. I think the fact that you've got that L-shaped face on low struck shots, it activates more of the face on impact, and it really encourages getting the ball up in the air easily. I felt that, but it also still delivers a really high level of feel all the way around. Is it the same thing as a 100% forged muscle-back blade or the T100? It's not to that level, but it's very, very good. Then transitioning into the T150, this is starting to get a little bit aspirational for me as a 10 handicap player. A little bit thin, but it gets out there and feels pretty good. But it is pretty hittable. The fact that you've got this much tungsten, that you've increased the MOI without increasing the blade length is impressive. It's more forgiving than you might think. And that's just great. That's beautiful. Again, caught maybe just a touch thin. But for me personally, I wouldn't want to go to anything that would be shorter or smaller or more compact than this. That said, more accomplished players might be looking at this as like, I might put T150s in my, say, 3-4-5 iron and then transition to T100 into the scoring clubs. You can easily do that as well, and we'll get to that in another video. But the transition from a looks perspective, standing over the ball in address, I thought that they blended seamlessly. Look, there are 4 different irons in the Titleist T-Series for 2025. You could put a Titleist T350 in as your 4-5, go in with a couple of 250s and then transition to some 150s if you want. Working with a good custom fitter, you're gonna have lots of different combinations. But for the vast majority of recreational golfers out there, players who have a handicap somewhere between, say, 7 or 8 and going up to maybe about 15 or 16, the Titleist T150 and the Titleist T250 are gonna be the most attractive golf clubs and probably the ones that they're gonna get fit into the most. T100 players already know who they are. They're the elite golfers out there. They know exactly what they want. High handicap players, golfers who struggle to break, say, 95 or 100, they're gonna be living in the Titleist T350 because they're gonna need that kind of forgiveness and stability. It's that center section, that sweet spot right in the middle where the 150 and the 250 are gonna live, where I think most golfers are gonna have the most questions. What's really interesting is Titleist has 2 excellent offerings that really emphasize different parts of your game, and you can either go with one or the other. Yeah, I think that's just about everything you probably need to know at least about the Titleist T150 and 250, but if you have any questions about about the new Titleist T-Series irons, please feel free to drop them in the comment area below. I do try and monitor my comment area as best I can, answer as many questions as you guys send to me. I love answering questions and being able to be a resource for you when it comes to golf equipment and technology. So please fire away. And if you did get some good information out of this video, if you did find it helpful, it'd be super great for me if you would smash that like button as well as subscribe to my channels. It helps me out a lot. Thanks a lot for joining me, and I'll look forward to seeing you again really soon.